very good day to you. It's a wonderful week right here on Herman Manyora's channel. I'm joined by the one and only Herman Manyora for today's political conversation. How are you doing, sir? I'm
fine.
You're fine. Today you look sharper than usual.
Well, maybe once in a while. Yeah, to deceive age. Kudanganya uzee.
Kudanganya uzee. Hata mimi najaribu.
Asante.
Okay, let's start today's political conversation with what President Uhuru Muigai said. He was in Nakuru. He said the elections is not a sprint but a marathon, and you need to choose someone mwenye akona ubongo. Now, was he endorsing Raila directly by saying that mzee atakuja apite kijana? Is that a direct endorsement saying Baba Tosha?
Of course, yes. Of course, Raila was being endorsed by Uhuru. But that one of football reminded me of the days of James Gishuru. And people would want to unseat him. And Kenyatta and Gishuru always carried the narrative that, you know, people don't play football in parliament. And for that reason, Gishuru was there until Kenyatta died. Yeah. Despite his state.
So right now for Uhuru, he has already confirmed.
Yeah, he was endorsing.
But why the parables? Why not come out and say?
The parables are important. And I'll show you why right now in a minute. Why? That it is not a sprint. It's a marathon.
Yes.
And that mzee anaweza atatoka nyuma pole pole na akupite. What Kenyans are not seeing, they are seeing the surface. The meaning is inside, is hidden. It is hidden inside.
I'm asking, why then not just
listen, it must be said in that manner so that the meaning is hidden. You must begin to ask yourself, what could slow Ruto? That's the question you must ask. And that must disturb Ruto. What could slow him? This is the President of the Republic of Kenya. Head of state, head of government. So Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Republic of Kenya. Head of all security agencies and everything else. And he's saying, utaisha nguvu. You must begin to ask yourself, is there a message we are not getting? Yes, there is a message. So
the message, according to you, wasn't the one that we read?
Don't celebrate and jump like a hare, some rabbit, up and down. We can switch a button here and there and you go slow. We can puncture your vehicle. Yes, this is the message you're sending.
Okay, well, let me ask.
We are there. And you are dancing as if we are not there. We are there. We can press one button here and you have a flat puncture. So that is a flat tire.
That is a message that was.
Yes, that's the message. If you didn't get it, that's your problem.
Okay, let me ask this. Is this beneficial anyway to Ruto? Because I think a day after he came out and says, wadosi wameanza kuwa na shida na mimi.
Yes.
And now he's using the term now, the dynasties are here, our bosses are here, and are directly saying, if it's still in parables, that it's probably Uhuru.
Back to what I said. All these things are intent to annoy him, to irritate him, to build anger in him. And the things is begin when he reacts. And you know, people from Ruto's camp, and I think even Ruto himself now, don't understand Manyora. They think I hate them. No, I advise them. If they had been listening to me, they would not be making the blunders they are making. You see, increasingly, when something comes from the other side, Ruto quickly jumps and reacts to it. And that confrontational, that anger, you can see it, that confrontational approach, the things he ends up saying, are what exactly they want him to say.
But doesn't this enforce the narrative that it is the dynasties are trying to push him down, and now he can sell it better by showing that even the president is part of this crew?
That is true. But you must know that is the case. If you are Ruto, know that is the position, but don't react to it. Work against it, but don't talk about it in public. You're falling into the trap. The things you say, how you say them, they are already beginning to eat into his votes on the mountain. Because you are getting into direct confrontation with the president. The things he has been saying. Like finally the narrative now has crystallized. That you are saying Uhuru has never done anything. That all the things that were done is you who did them. And therefore Uhuru is a fool. He's a useless president. That's what you are saying. It is crystallized already.
But should he just sit back? Should he sit
back?
No,
you don't sit back. You work against it. You dismantle what they are doing and their plans without falling into the trap of saying things that will cost you. That's what I'm saying.
Can the deputy president be able to counter the president? Can he be able to do it without engaging him directly?
Don't engage him. Don't be seen to be answering the president. It is costly. This is Kenya. Wanasema ukiona chokora guza utajua ako na wenyewe. See a dog, you beat a dog. You know the dog has its owner. In this country, these leaders you see come from people. And they belong to people. You touch them and you'll see. You touch Mudavadi now. And you see how lawyers will react. Touch him. Just touch him.
Okay, we'll speak about the lawyers for
Yeah.
later on. But let's look at Raila now.
Yes.
He seems to be having now an easy race come 2022. If the president is with him, the government is with him, most governors are with him. Would you say that he is in a position where the race is not going to be tough for him as it is for Ruto?
It will be much easier for him as frictionless. Because of this infrastructure that has been put in place for him. Hey, my friend, to run against that infrastructure is not a joke.
Oh.
So Ruto has a problem.
You know,
It's a huge infrastructure put in place for him. And the Ruto cannot run against that infrastructure.
so would you still speak about Raila as a person who the government wants him there? I remember Ruto, we had this conversation, Ruto was saying he's a state, he's being put into the presidency by the state. So would you right now say it?
I don't want to see it that way. What I want to see, I think, is those who have prevented Raila's presidency, those who have stood in the way of a Raila presidency, have gotten to a point where they have come to the conclusion, in the interest of this country, in the interest of peace, it's good to make peace with Raila and the Luos. I think that's my thinking, and that's how the handshake worked. The handshake was to atone for the sins, for the betrayal occasioned Jaramogi and thereafter Raila and the Luo community and other Kenyans. That betrayal, by shifting power from one center to another. You get it? So I don't see that as planting Raila into the presidency. I see it as a wider, bigger thing in terms of correcting the mistakes of the past.
Would someone be right to argue then that if Raila is not pleased, does that mean that Kenya will not be stable?
You know, you need to look at our history. Our history has been one where one community has been in power for many years. The Kenyatas and just say the Mount Kenya people have been controlling this country way beyond Kenyatta's death. And there has been another community, on the other hand, that despite the role they play in the independence struggle, they have been on the receiving end. They have been betrayed. They have been persecuted. So this country has a problem of two communities. One community, the Kikuyu, who feel entitled, who even think this country belongs to them. I think because of fighting for independence and many other factors. There is another community that feels persecuted and betrayed. Unless you bring these two communities together, everything else you do will amount to naught.
And for you, yes, Raila Odinga is the representative
of that other side.
Of the other side.
And that side is beyond Luo. It's not just Luo. The Luo are the most visible, the center of it, but they are not it. It's beyond. That this country has been divided into two. And sadly, that's what we saw in 2007.
Oh.
Yeah.
After the elections 2022, let's assume Raila wins.
Yes.
Does that mean that even after the election, we'll have to now look for someone from the other side so that the country may become stable? At what point can we be able to say that the elections can run fairly without worrying about the peace of the country?
Let me tell you, and I think this is the handshake and BBI. Once you have given an opportunity and a chance and allowed fair play initially at the level of this infrastructure that is being put up together, at the level of Raila becoming president, at the level of one side of the country being appeased and atoned and what have you, the rest will fall in place. I always give this example. If Kibaki had not betrayed Raila, this country would not be the same. Tribalism would have ended. That's why, according to me, in our history, and I'm writing about it, the worst president we have had is Kibaki.
Come on.
He betrayed us in a way. We lost an opportunity like no other.
But the economy was stable.
Which economy? Forget the economy cannot come first. What comes first is the politics. That's why we are trying to solve the equation. We are trying to find some equilibrium. We are still to look for a pathway. We are trying to chart our path as a country. But we are still dancing in circles because of that mistake. Once that mistake is addressed, you will see the potential of this country.
So for you, you would say that Uhuru Muigai is the best president because he's called Raila.
If he did that and successfully, not Manyora, not you, history will record it. History is very fair. And it will be written 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, 500 years, 20 years from now. The history will be recorded. Fairly, it will show. It will show that Kenya's problems were solved by Uhuru Kenyatta. If Raila becomes president, Kusha, there will be no other problem in this country in terms of the politics. Of course, every country has its own challenges, but these are normal. But in terms of what has kept us stagnant and not moving, even going backwards, Uhuru will have done what his father didn't, what Moi didn't, what Kibaki didn't.
But by what you're saying, could that imply that a Ruto presidency would question the political stability of the country?
No, I don't mean that. I just mean we shall have delayed. We shall be kicking the can down the road. Because this problem has to be addressed. It has to be addressed. It will keep rearing its ugly head, to use a cliche.
Yeah.
It will keep coming.
Until Raila becomes president?
Not until Raila becomes
someone
president.
From the other side
Raila is a mortal. He's not immortal. Raila will not be there forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until someone from the other side?
Not necessarily that. Until that problem is addressed. It has different manifestations. It will be addressed in another way.
Let's say Raila does not become president.
Yes.
Ruto becomes president.
Yes.
And the problem, as you say, cannot be addressed at that particular point.
Yes.
What then should Kenyans wait for?
They will wait for another opportunity to address the problem. It will not have been addressed. It will be a temporal solution. We will go on a country, but it's just like the American issue. It's not going away. They will have to address it. Obama being president didn't address the problem.
Racism?
Yeah,
or
it is there, and it's what will bring America down. Today, look at the rate of how many non-whites are in America. Soon they will come face to face with that, and they will pay for it most likely. They'll have to address this thing. There are many countries have historical problems, which until they address, you can only postpone the problem. So the race problem in America is only being postponed. They will have to address it.
And if you postpone it, it becomes worse.
Yeah, you'll have to address it because look at the demographics in America in terms of non-whites. It's going up. So the sooner they address it, the better. And I'm sure they are doing all they can to address it.
Okay.
The Joe Biden president, for example, I think is moving in that direction. Because Trump was a hardliner, you know? Hardliner, he was the wrong person at that time when America needs to address this problem.
No.
And you see, it's part of what brought him down. That's one instance of George Floyd. Just one. It contributed majorly to the loss of Trump.
Yeah.
For those who believe he lost, I don't believe he lost. What I'm saying is this country will have that problem of one part of the country feeling they are not part of this country. Until you address it. Because a Ruto presidency will simply play into what Uhuru was saying. Kikuyu, Kalenjin. Kikuyu, Kalenjin.
And other people are watching.
Unless you break that. So a Raila president will simply serve to break that. Once you break it, a Kalenjin can come tomorrow. A Kikuyu can come tomorrow. It will have been solved.
Let me ask you,
Yes.
as we wind up that conversation on the same, would you say the problem can be solved fairly by people voting for the person they choose? Because right now it seems like it has to be pushed, an agenda has to be pushed for someone from the other side so that the problem can be solved.
No,
People will be able
politics,
to
it's
solve
all
it.
politics. Voting is part of politics. Pushing is part of politics. Yeah, and many other things are part of politics. Democracy is many times guided.
Okay.
You know, guided democracy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what you hope will happen.
I would rather go for... We need that guided democracy. I'm telling you. In fact, this country, we needed a boardroom president. And I'm telling you, even Ruto in the fullness of time,
In the fullness of time.
even Ruto himself will play this clip. He will realize, even Raila is realizing some things now. He's realizing some things
That
now.
you have to guide
Yes.
the people.
If we went into a boardroom for 2022 and they produced Raila as a president in an architecture that guarantees all these people will be players in our politics beyond the 2022 and beyond, this country will make strides and elections will be free and fair, and anyone among these people, Ruto, Mudavadi, can become president fairly. Ruto himself will realize what I'm saying now in the future, that it would have been much easier for him to allow the handshake to go full with his support and Raila becomes president. He's a young man.
So you say
Yes.
the boardroom, they sit in their boardrooms
Yes.
and they
decide for
and
this
then,
country, for now, we can suspend democracy.
and then Kenyans as a whole, they feel like they are practicing their democratic right, but it has already been decided.
It is guided democracy. You can suspend aspects of democracy for a while instead of prolonging the problem. You get it?
Yeah.
What we have gone through over the years, every election cycle, we should bring it to an end. You know what is associated with politics in this country? The lost opportunities, the wastages, the loss of life and property and limb. We must put an end to that. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So, after Raila has become president, for example, and I'm not pushing for him, then people like Ruto will realize the field is so fair and none of these guys can compete him anyway. He will just walk into the president in 2027 or 2032 comfortably and do his 10 years. When he's trying to be president in 2032 is when he will realize he made a mistake.
If he loses.
Because,
if he loses.
let me tell you, he will lose. Let me tell you, anybody who loses next year will be wiped out of the political map of this country.
Oh.
We can stop there.
Even DP Ruto.
Top on the list.
Okay, let's wind the conversation there. Tomorrow we talk about One Kenya Alliance, what's happening in the Luhya Nation. Until we do have these conversations, again, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing, for sharing and clicking the notification bell because you are the first one to view it. Have yourself a lovely rest of your day.